one and all endangered. And the gray wolf and the whooping crane, Atlantic salmon, all the same.
You're not helping.
Why as soon as we hit record do you have to be up in Dad's face?
What are you doing?
She has to poop?
Really? You want to poop?
Yeah. Come on.
Lynn's got to poop.
Time
Start
out.
over. We haven't made any videos in a while, and one of the main reasons is because the camera's been fouled up.
Yeah, it got messed up in Valdez, I think, so.
Yeah, I think water got in, it wouldn't turn on. But in truth, we probably wouldn't have been doing much anyway because we've been hunting. And the odd thing about Alaska is you hunt in August and September, that's it. You know, where we were at in Idaho, you'd start hunting one thing and just move through, and you know, everything was spaced out. You know, your archery season, then your elk season, and your deer season, and your bear.
Muzzleloader.
You know, muzzleloader, you're going to wolf season, trapping. And here you start off and it's
all concentrated into one, basically.
Yeah, opening, I mean, you're out there hunting for moose, sheep, goat, bear, everything at the same time. So you really got to knuckle down and concentrate on what you're doing.
Well, you did get an extra tag,
And,
a goat tag.
and I did draw an extra goat tag, so that added another degree of difficulty to things. And but another thing we want to mention too is we're not going to put out, Jay, quit bud. We're not going to put out, he thinks it's nap time because I'm sitting down. So he's going to come up, he's begging to get up here and take a nap with me.
Thank you for ruining it.
Yeah, thanks bud. But we're not going to put out, you know, filler videos. We don't want to do that. We're not going to use stock footage. If you see it on our video, we were there or we filmed it or both. And if it's something someone else filmed, we're going to tell you, hey, my buddy filmed this. It's really cool. We thought we'd share it. But anything you see from us is from us. And another thing we want to point out is when you see these pictures and some of the short video clips, yes, they are filmed on federal and state land. And no, we do not have permits to film. That's because we do not want to be monetized. We will not be monetized ever. We will not be paid for the videos. That's not what we want to do. That's not our thing. I know there's a lot of people out there, they try to make money, or they do make money off their videos. And great, that's awesome for them.
That's awesome.
But that's not the direction we want to go. We want to be able to film in the national park and say, hey, check this out, it's beautiful, without paying for a permit. We don't want money to sully what we're showing. It's real. It is what it is.
And it's just for the love of what we're doing and having a good time. It's not...
Yeah, there's too many videos out there that are over-sensationalized hype, trying to play the victim and how tough life is, and it's reality show crap. I'm sorry, but it is.
Well, and life is what you make of it. If you think that it's going to be difficult, it will be difficult. We like to spin it onto the positive side, or try to anyway.
There's so many people up here in Alaska making videos. We just want to show our dumb little side of the world. And, you know, we see people making these videos, and they're talking about how they're going to get an airdrop of groceries. I'm like, why don't you go to the gas station 3 miles away? I know where you live.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, there's people...
It's drama.
You see people, I mean, they're over in the Matsu Valley talking about... anyway, I won't get into it, but just remember, you know, we're going to try to give you the true stuff. Don't get us wrong, there are some good videos out there. I mean, one that I don't know a lot about that I've seen, I can't say for all of the videos, but that Bush Radical guy seems pretty down to earth and tells it straight up like it is. He's not trying to over sensationalize crap. Then we got our neighbors down the road, Lynn and Daryl, Follow Alaska. They do real videos. It's not, you know, oh no, I'm going to die if I don't get a grocery run to the 10 miles away or something.
No, you know, it's very honest and real. Yeah,
they show what the stores are like here, what the people are. It's really cool stuff. So, you know, just kind of remember what you're watching, and, you know, just remember there's people out there trying to give you real stuff, and there's people trying to make money getting views, and nothing wrong with either one of them. Just understand what you're watching.
Yeah.
But with that said, we started out hunting. My buddy Aaron came out, and we were going to go sheep hunting in a preserve, which is legal for him or me. And we found some spots. It was you know, we were pretty hopeful from what we were seeing. And like the day before season, I mean, people just flooded all right that spot. And I was like, oh, you've got to be kidding. So we backed out of there and we jumped over to a spot that was only legal for me, and walked up in. We spotted a couple rams, and I mean, I'm not, you know, Mr. Sheep guy, but I think these things were pretty nice. One was really super wide, one had nice curls, and we got up there, you know.
Well, and you don't have the limitations like others do, right?
Well, it was legal for me
Right.
to hunt there, but not Aaron.
Right.
But we get up in there, and Aaron was the fun police. I'm laying down, I'm looking, I'm like, okay, I can get over that little rise right there, and I can shoot that sheep. And he said, and if you do it, you're on your own. And Aaron's a licensed guide here in Alaska. I mean, he knows what he's doing. This guy's got his stuff together, and he recognizes an over anxious. Well, I won't use that word. Idiot is the word.
There you go.
He recognizes somebody that's a little overeager, and I was overeager. He says, you know, we won't be able to get that sheep, I don't think.
He was level-headed.
Yeah, he brought some common sense to it, so we walked away from him. And then we were looking again, and pretty soon Aaron says, hey, there's a bear behind us. Okay, so I shot it. 'Cause we're allowed 5 bears here. So I shot it, and you know, nothing special, nothing eventful, but that bear, phenomenal meat.
Oh,
I
absolutely.
did not like eating Oregon bears. I liked
Kind of garbage bear.
I liked Idaho bears, but these bears, the burger is exceptional. We make breakfast sausage out of it. We don't add any fat or anything, but it's exceptional. So we got that bear, and then Mary and I went up looking around. Aaron had to go because he was actually taking his girlfriend out hunting for her goat hunt, and he was going in for a fly-in sheep hunt. So Mary and I went and looked, spotted some rams up on a hill, and they were in a recoverable position. But
Come on now.
they were in a recoverable position. So my buddy Dusty and I, he lives back here. That's why I'm pointing. I'm not an idiot. He's not behind the couch.
He lives literally
the trees
right.
you see there, that's his property. That's why I'm going, yeah, my buddy Dusty. But Dusty, we went up the next day. We got our gear for, you know, camping and staying, and planned to go up in on these sheep. And we got there, and they were in the wrong spot. They
move.
They were in a spot that it was like this. I mean, it was just, you know, we were dejected, bummed out. So we started glassing, and we spotted 4 more rams bedded, but I didn't bring the spotting scope because we'd planned to be up in after those rams that we knew were big. And so we couldn't tell. We just knew, well, they've got horns. And I said, well, do you want to gamble and go for it? We're here. We might as well just bonsai up. And he said, yeah, let's do it. I mean,
Dusty's always up for an adventure, a walk.
Oh yeah, that's the thing is if I ask him, hey, do you want to walk down to the lower 48? He'd be like, okay, what time are we leaving?
I'm not that person.
So we grab our gear, we bonsai up the hill. We get about halfway up. We just break out of the Alpine, or break into the Alpine, and drop all of our gear and set up camp. And that's the thing about the brush here. It is ungodly. Everybody thinks, oh, sheep hunters and goat hunters are tough. You know, they're up there in that steep rocky ground. No, that steep rocky ground's the cake.
It's the
And
squish.
that's why people fly in. It's getting to that Alpine that is, I mean, when we break out in the Alpine, we're like, oh, thank God we can rest. You know, it's only straight up and down. But there's no brush, there's no tangly stuff. I mean, I've got a nice Stone Glacier pack that hugs tight to me, and I can't get through the brush with that thing. I can't. Packing a rifle's the worst.
Well,
but
and the squish, what's it really called?
The
That's
muskeg stuff
muskeg,
through
not
there.
called squish.
You go through layers of muskeg and spruce, and then you break into the alders, and then you come up into the blueberries, and you think, and they're miserable, and whatever underbrush is there. And then there's always this other layer of high alpine alders. It seems to be the last. It's like the final boss to keep you from reaching the alpine.
Come on now.
But anyway, we get up there, we drop our camp, and we think, let's make a run for it. So it was, I think, 2,000 vertical feet in 800 yards. I mean, it was a straight climb. And as we're going up, we spotted 5 more rams coming over the hill. And one of the coolest things, I didn't get a picture, I didn't get video because we didn't have cameras or anything, was 2 rams on the skylight up there butting heads. It was super cool.
Sometimes
Boris, it is not nap time. I'm sorry. But anyway, we get up there, we make the final push after about 3 or 4 false summits. We finally pop up over the hill, and I look down, and I said, hey, they're laying right there. And got to look, and I said, heck, I think there was like 10 rams laying there. And we got down, got the rifle down. I said, well, what do you think, Dusty? He says, we can do it. We can get them. I said, all right. And I set the rifle. I mean, it was kind of an awkward position. I had to lay sideways across the rock. And normally I would have announced to Dusty and say, okay, I'm going to take this ram. I'm shooting. But the crosshairs just fell, and they just settled. And guys that have hunted know sometimes that shot it's there.
When it's there, it's there. You
and
gotta do
I
it.
touched the trigger, and the sheep just kind of humped a little bit. And I put another round in. I said, what happened? Because of course my recoil come off kind of sideways because I was laying sideways off that rock. And about that time he just tipped over. And we've got, a picture of him laying there. Mm-hmm. But then, the rams kind of milled around. Another ram got out and started feeding towards this big ram. I mean, it was a pretty cool experience. And it was freezing at night. It was cold. So we had to fly back down to camp. And went down, had a sleepless night, basically knowing what we had to do in the morning. Went up in the morning, got the sheep, got him all boned out, taken care of, and headed down the hill. And I think, what did we make it home about, 8 o'clock at night, 9 o'clock, something like that?
I'd say 9 or 10.
It was late, but we finally made it home. I think we made it back to the pickup at about 6 p.m.
I was relatively impressed how early you were home, but yet it was a full, hard day.
And then from there, it was going to be, we're going to go to my goat tag. And Mary and I were running up, because my goat tag is up on Thompson Pass up here. And Mary and I were going to run up there, and like I told you, it's moose season, bear season, everything. We're headed up there, and I said, you got to be kidding me. Mary said, what? I said, there's a bull standing right on the side of the road back here.
Well,
so I pull over, grab my rifle, walk back there, and he's just standing there. So he just stood there, looked at me, I shot him. I mean, it was a gift from God. There's no doubt about it. Because
absolutely.
That was the one that worried us the most, was because that's a lot of meat, and we're not going to be trophy hunters. I got a nice bull last year. I mean, I got a real nice, because I had to go by non-resident standards. Mm-hmm. And this year it was, if it's legal, it's hitting the ground. And
grocery shopping,
yeah,
essentially, and that ticked one thing off your list that you didn't have to stress out about, so you could focus on your extra tag.
Yeah, so it was so I could concentrate on the goats, and then Dusty and I went up and we're looking for goats, and we were finding them. Well, Mary's over there chomping at the bit to tell this one. I was going to try to skip over it until I seen the look on her face. We went up, we found some goats, and I'm not kidding you, this was the best place ever.
Like, I could have walked up to it.
I was like, oh yes, this is a dream. I got up there, I laid down behind the gun, goats bedded up on the side of the hill, and I called my buddies who were going to come help me pack, got all my ducks lined up, everything's going, and flung an air ball.
Was it just one?
A couple times.
There we go.
And I honestly, I don't know what happened. I mean, I think God has a sense of humor, and He was trying to say, "Hey, bud." you were
counting your chickens before they hatched.
I mean, that goat was dead and packed out and in the freezer before I touched that trigger, and I airballed and I just screwed it up. But anyway, then Dusty and I went up, several times. We went camping. We took the tent up, stayed, and we just weren't finding goats in places that were recoverable. That's a lot of it, is sitting there watching him thinking, well, I could shoot him, but I can't get him.
Well, we've seen tons of videos before we moved here where they fall hundreds of feet and just, it's ruined.
Yeah, or you can't get to them. And
right.
That's wasting a game animal, which we're not going to do. So, but then we're coming home one day and driving up through, and I'm like, there's a bear standing on the side of the road. Well, we see black bears all the time. I mean, I think one day we saw like a dozen. We see a lot of black bears, but there's so many of them, you just wait till one's next to the road, because I'm not going to go shoot a bear that I got to carry.
It's an easy pack.
So we pulled over. I grabbed Dusty's 10mm, walked across the road, stepped off into the brush, shot the bear. brought home some more burger. And then we came back for a few days and we get a call from our neighbors, Jim and Lori. And our neighbors are wonderful neighbors. When we moved here, they knew that we were non-residents and wouldn't be getting meat, so they were giving us meat. They were, giving us fish, kind of showing us the ropes around here. I mean, just they're from Maine. They're big time trappers, bear hunters. I mean, they're kind of the perfect neighbors for us. It's
we have a lot in common. They knew what it's like to start from scratch here. I mean, they really, really have helped us out on the learning curve.
So when they called and said, "Hey, there's a moose on the ground. You want to come help?" I called Dusty. Bam, we go down there. We help them, and we'll show you a little bit of video here that
it's pretty cool.
Cheryl's getting it out. We were able to get it out whole.
And Lori kicked butt. And
Lori stayed back and gutted it while Jim come back and got the trailer and the six-wheeler. And you'll see on the video that the six-wheeler, it was a match. I mean, people don't realize how big these moose are. They're huge.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
But then, after we got that moose out with them, then it was back to goat hunting. And Dusty and I went up. And we spent, again, several days looking, and we just got dejected. I mean, we were seeing big billies, we were seeing goats. It just wasn't in spots that we could do it. We even hiked up a hill that we couldn't even glass or look at on a gamble just because there was a trail there. We hiked clear up into the Alpine, and the only thing we run into was California hippies.
There was hikers.
They were hippie hikers. I mean, they were like driving a Prius and stuff. But they were, hiked way back up in there, and they were super nice. It's kind of funny because usually, you run into people like that in the lower 48, and you're a hunter. They're not real pleased with you because they don't like hunting. But the ones that come up here, they're like, "Oh yeah, you're hunting. How's it going?" And they'll tell you if they see stuff. It's kind of refreshing, because two different walks of life still get along, and
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
But there was no goats up there, and I'm not kidding you. We get up there, and we're clear up this side, and we look clear across the river on the other canyons. We're like, "Oh, there's some goats. There's some goats. There's some goats." And they're like 10 miles away, and they're down across the river and up the other side. 3 days to get over to them. But we finally.
It was
getting frustrating.
Frustration, yeah.
And we're coming back from another trip, and I don't know if it was we were camping or if we just went up for a day trip looking, but we're coming back and we thought, well, and we get to a spot where we'd seen some goats on this side over here, and they weren't there. And we're driving down through the canyon, and I look and I said, "I see a white spot up on the top of that over there." So I pulled over and I grabbed a binoculars. I said, "Well, it's a white animal." So I grabbed a spot scope, threw it up there. There's goats up there, man. And we got to looking, and those are very approachable. I mean, it's the hill kind of goes up, and it's stair steps. We thought, yeah, we'll just angle in right there. So came back, got all of our gear ready. Did we go in the next day, or was it 2 days?
I don't.
It was either the next day or or 2 days after. We went back up in there, and of course the goats had moved to the side of the mountain where we didn't know if we could get to them or not.
Classic.
So we spent a couple hours planning and trying to figure, we got the Google Earth out, we're looking, we're getting up on this hillside looking at, we have to try to find approach angles just to get in. And so we finally find it, and we're like, okay, we can do it. And we get up there, and I see this white spot. I said, "Is that a stick or is that white hair that I see?" Because, it's so steep, you're looking up, and all you can see is a little spot sticking out. "I don't know, I think it's a stick." Dusty says, "Is that a goat?" I said, "No, it's a stick." So we started angling. We're trying to get a look. We're back and forth on this hill going around. Get a little bit better look at it. And Dusty said, "Are you sure that's a stick?" And I looked, "Yeah, it's a stick." And it's just a log, white log shining in the sun. And finally we get around there, and he says, "Are you sure?" "No, not anymore. I'm pretty sure that's hair." And I'm scared of heights, so I asked Dusty, I said, "Are you comfortable with me popping that goat there?" He said, "Yeah." So I popped the goat there, and it flops down off this thing and disappears. And he goes up there and had lost a horn. And he found the horn, and I was down underneath, and I went down to get the packs because we dropped the packs in a spot, and I was going to come up around to meet him. And he calls me on the phone. He said, I'm sitting here hanging onto this goat with one hand, and I can't hang on to it, and I can't move it. It's going to go down the hill. And I said, well, you can't die.
No, somebody's life
And
isn't worth.
I said, that cape and them horns aren't worth that much that I'm willing to risk my friend's life. So he had to let the goat go, and it went down, and it did break the other horn off. We ended up losing one horn, but we recovered one horn. The cape was destroyed. It busted its face, and it was. I see it happens a lot in goat, but it was a learning experience.
Mm-hmm.
But we got the goat taken care of. Came out down the hill, and once you get out of that alpine, it's just brutal in the alders. I came home and got undressed to get in the shower, and Mary starts laughing at me because I've got bruises and cuts all over my body.
You have a big old scar on your little booty.
Yeah,
So.
I literally cut my butt open. But it was pretty gnarly. I fell on my rifle 3 times. Smashed several dents in my night force. Luckily, it's a night force, and you just can't break them.
Well,
but I gave her a whirl.
Well, we do have to send that in.
Well, it still shoots fine. Everything's good, and night force is so cool. I got a hold of them and I said, hey, I banged this thing hard. Could I send it in just to get it checked out? Of course. So,
Great customer service. So.
Even knowing that it's perfectly fine, they said, yeah, send it in, we'll check it out, just make sure. So that's pretty cool. But that was our hunting season.
And before anybody says anything, the reason I didn't really hunt, I always go and I scout and we do things like that, but this is Jason's first year as a resident, and I wanted him to succeed at the things that he wanted that are lifelong dreams. Sheep and goat aren't necessarily a lifelong dream for me. So I wanted that to be his focus, and then we'll just focus on me next year. And
yeah, sheep and goats are those are things that people wait their whole life to hopefully get to go do.
Mm-hmm.
And fortunately in Alaska you can do those things every year.
Yeah.
The goat, I don't know if I'll be able to do it next year because the other goat hunts that we would look at would require boats. Or fly in of some kind, and that's just not feasible.
We're of modest means, so
yeah,
I just don't.
Some people can afford to go do that stuff. Me, I'm ground pounding, and getting back into some of those far reaches like that on foot.
If somebody was going to fly in, it would be. Just saying.
But no, we did not get a grizzly bear. We saw several. I saw some nice bears. I even passed up a bear, which was stupid. But there was a big boar and this blonde sow. And I got down to shoot the big boar, and I thought, I'll get him. And then he just moved and got in the brush. And all I could see for the next 2.5, 3 hours was the top of his back moving around. And that sow would walk out and stand there broadside, turn, give me all these shot angles.
I think God was giving you a sign, you just didn't listen.
And I thought, well, I ought to just dump her, but there's a big boar there, that's what I wanted. But then we saw several others that were in spots that were just like, no, I'm not going to go after that because I don't want to get it out of there.
Right.
But that's pretty much what we've been doing, and now it's time to start working on the house.
I have lots and lots of ideas. So.
Hopefully we'll have a boring video here pretty quick of us.
Well, the water
working
room.
on crap.
The water room is a must. We've been slowly making progress with that, so.
Well, I thought the bears would be asleep, so I might try to sneak out for a bear hunt one day. I thought they'd be asleep, but we went out the other day and there's bear crap on the road, so.
Oh, I got
there was a bear up on the side of the hill.
I got a really good picture.
Yeah.
It's funny, but you'll see. But
anyway, we'll probably end this with some scenery pictures that she takes while she's out and a little bit of music, and if anything exciting happens, we'll video it if the camera turns on.
We'll try to come up with something entertaining besides us talking.
tall dark trees, cabin glow, smoke on the breeze. It's a cold autumn night, rain turns to snow. In the warm firelight, I'm watching you glow.